Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Constant Agitation, your weekly podcast. As usual, I'm Jimmy, your host, and joined by Eva. Hi Eva,
Hi,
what are you doing?
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit distracted. We're having some Zoom issues.
Right? Yeah, just before we start, something came up as usual.
Like 5 seconds before starting.
Yeah. Hey Tim, hey everybody.
Hi.
And you heard something, that was Danny. All right, let's bring him in.
Yes.
How about this?
Great.
Hi Danny.
Hi, hello, good afternoon.
What happened was that right before we started, the connection dropped off.
I think it was frozen.
Yeah, but we saved it. Welcome back, and welcome everybody. So Danny is joining us today because we talked last week about a photo contest that is happening on Discord, and as always, we mentioned that you can check the links for the servers in the description of the video. So if you go to Film Photography is Not Dead server, you can find that there's a bi-monthly photo contest, and the first round just wrapped up, and that's why Danny is joining us. And that was a tongue twister, and because he's the winner. So congratulations, Danny, on winning the first round.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, well, you posted a really nice photo. It kept us all guessing.
So some people say maybe they don't really want to know what it is because they want the mystery of the abstract feeling that it has. But I am really curious to know how you came up to take this photo.
We have suspicions. Okay, so Eva and Tim both guess that it's a big thing.
It's a big
structure.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's a small structure. We will see who wins the guessing game.
Well, yeah, I have to say I'm not sure if it's big or small because when I was taking the picture, for me it was something huge.
Okay.
But right now I found a picture of that thing online, and it doesn't look as big as I expected.
Right.
This is even more interesting. It's getting more interesting
by
the moment.
And this is I took this in the sculpture garden from Carl Muller Museum in the Netherlands. And well, this is there's a big row of columns that I'm not sure if I'll be able to explain it because it's such an abstract shape. Or I don't know. It's a weird shape. I don't know how to describe it. But yeah, this is the camera pointing up to a couple of columns that join together at the end. And the texture, it's pretty. It's not what looks like in real life because here the colors are a bit off, I would say. But well, that's due to my bad technique of color grading.
It's really good. I think it fits.
I think it's very nice.
I like it. I like the grain. I like everything about it. It's my first instinct was that it was something really tall.
That's what the feeling I had. Like that's what I thought it was, like a very big structure because it's like reaching out to infinity. Like to me, this photo is like it's a representation of what infinity would be. You know what the infinity sign is. So this is like having found infinity within a structure, and then it's just unreachable. That's the feeling that it gives me.
Yeah, but then I thought it might be an optical illusion.
Yeah.
And it's something small that has very like sharp angle, and it looks like it's far away, but it's not. Because of optics.
And
Danny is cutting off. Sorry about that. It's the internet. Sometimes you can't really.
Now
I would say it's about 5 meters high or something like this.
Okay.
And I think I ended up focusing the tallest part, but maybe that was F8 or F11. Because this is this is obviously a color film. It's Ultramax, so yeah, it's a consumer film. And despite that, I think it looks pretty well. Didn't expect to have such a nice result. And what if can I send you a picture and show it to the screen. Is possible?
Yeah, for
you
sure.
can send it to me on Instagram.
Or you can send the chat in Zoom. You should get it in your computer.
But Instagram would be easier
Also,
if
yeah.
you can do that. You can DM me on Instagram. Wait, I'll DM you.
I think it's just like, even for a moment I thought some people could think that it's a collage, you know, because you have such a strong shadows and such, like it's just how the shadows and the lights like play together is such a juxtaposition that it could be even look like it's not real, like it wasn't really taken as a photo, but it's like some sort of like graphic art type of thing, which I really appreciate and like. And as Tim was saying, I think we forgot to mention that the topic of the contest, because the contest had a topic, was triangles. So the idea was that anybody can submit a photo that abides to this topic, so to speak. There were very different type of entries, but I think this is like a really good representation of what triangles might mean in a photographic contest. Yeah,
I mean, there was a bunch of interesting ones. People were very daring in their attempts, and I really liked that. I really enjoyed that people really were not trying to be tame with the entries. They went all out. Most of them were unrecognizable things.
Yeah, exactly.
You're only seeing this one.
Which is also kind of an unrecognizable thing.
Yeah, you can also join the Discord if you want to see the rest of them. But what I like so much about this one is everybody I think knows, or most people know who know me, I love high contrast sometimes, especially when it comes to abstract. I like to play with shadow and light. And I think Dani nailed it here, because even though these two, as we learned, are two pillars, they're basically the same object, but they do look like different objects. Yeah. But it's just the shadow part is crushed so much that you don't get any texture. And I really like it.
Chronic Fish is saying that as a graphic designer, I really appreciate this photo. So yeah, it is. It's very graphic, I would say.
Right. So I think Dani is sending me something. I think he's not talking because he's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I dropped for a while.
Sorry. All right. So I'm just gonna do this real quick.
Oh, so those are the columns. Cool, interesting.
Let me bring this one back. All right. So these are the columns that this is the photo you sent me, right? This is what we were looking at in the other photo.
Yeah, it's from the middle, the space in between the two in the center, and
I have a question for you. Is this a photo that you already had, or is it something that you actually went out with the idea of, I'm gonna find something that evokes triangles or has triangles in the composition or can look as a triangle to submit for the contest?
No, I'd say this was maybe a lucky picture.
Yeah.
And I didn't have triangles in mind when I took this picture.
All right.
But I was more. I mean, my idea was playing with the shadows and those sharp edges. That because it was a very sunny day, and it was that contrast, and that I wanted to play with.
But I really like also that even though it was a sunny day, a very contrasty day, you still got good detail to let us know a bit in the context of things where it falls, because you can see the sky and you can recognize the sky. So you can at least have a little bit of sense of direction of what is it that you're looking at, even though you are lost in the details and you really don't know what it is that you're looking at. At least you can position yourself towards somewhere.
You're looking up.
Right, you're looking up. So and you get the feeling, oh, this might be something really big, really much bigger than anything.
Even though it is tall, it's much taller than my second theory. I still think that it's not as tall as the sensation that you get when you're looking at the image. Now I'm gonna bring it back just so you guys can have an idea. Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't. Yeah, it just seems so tall. You know what I mean? It seems like this arc that is reaching space.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's really nice work.
It's.
Also, I suppose the fact of being such a close aperture also gives more removes depth from the picture a little bit, and makes it look a more flat subject than in real life is.
Absolutely. By the way, everybody who's watching, you can go check out Danny's Instagram. The link is in the description. He has a lot of cool photos. And yeah, go give him a follow because he's really good.
Yes, and he has, I mean, you guys know here we love structures, we love abstract photography, we love very geometric type of photography, and I think he also likes that kind of photo, hence the photo you submitted and won. And he has many examples in his Instagram as well.
Right. So let's maybe talk about, your passion for photography a little bit. I know you have to leave soon, but you said you have some time, so let's make the best out of it.
Yes.
So since we have you here, tell us about your photography inspiration. Why do you take photos? This is the question that I like to ask everybody. Why are you taking photos, Danny?
Well, I think I started more with a social purpose. Well, most of the people I think start taking pictures of friends or meetings, and I guess then I started to get more interest in the process of editing photos and knowing what I'm shooting and playing more with. I found, I guess, the artistic part of the photography. And this was back at the beginning when I was shooting digital, and I was enjoying just maybe just photography, in general. I didn't have a specific subject to shoot, although while shooting pictures with friends, and so is what brought me here. And then I started with film photography, and that was a bit of a change because I started taking more care of, obviously the process, because film photography is what it is, and you have to do a lot of things before getting the actual picture. And I think at this point changed a little bit. I changed my mind, and I guess now I don't know how to put it, but yeah, photography is not only what gear I'm using, what subject I have in mind, but it's also the process that makes me keep shooting film.
Right.
I don't know.
So what is the part of the process that mainly keeps you stuck to film? What is bringing you back to film? What part? I know you do prints as well. I know you have access to darkroom and you make your own prints. So is that a part of it? Is that the main reason why you do it rather than maybe talk to me a little bit more about why do you find yourself enjoying it more?
Darkroom was a big part that took the interest in photography for a while, but it's not always possible to go to the darkroom and these things. But I think the scanning process is what really catches my attention right now, because when you have the negative, that's what it is, but it's your duty to turn it into a real picture, and it's your interpretation and also the tools you use to do it. And right now, this is something I'm trying to improve, and also because that makes you think, understand more how light works, and also color when I'm shooting color, which is a nightmare for negative. But this is, for me, something, I don't know, with a very, I don't know how to explain, but it's something I don't know when I'm gonna finish learning. It's because it's such the part of processing color and those things. So there's no rules in this. I don't know how to put it. Sorry.
It's all right. So you did mention that you started out in digital as well, and so what I'm feeling here is that you really enjoy the process of growth and learning more and more and more and expanding your technical abilities, as well as the process of taking the photos. And do you feel like maybe there was not much room for technical growth in digital photography as much as there is in analog? There's way more things that can go wrong and way more things that you have to kind of learn and practice and experiment with to kind of get right. As you mentioned, color scanning is a beast of its own. So is this a part of the process that attracts you to it as well?
Yes, yes, and the good thing of also film is, well, if you scan yourself, if you scan yourself, you will be always watching all the frames you've taken. You are spending a considerable amount of time watching what you've shot, and it's easier to understand what went wrong in that picture, or what you can improve, or what happened there.
All right.
And I think this is a part that it makes it easier for you to I think.
No, you're still here. We can still hear you. Oh, now he froze.
Oh, he froze.
Don't worry about it. We'll keep it. Yeah, we can hear you, but yeah, now you're back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, what I was saying,
you were saying that with the analog, you spend a lot of more time looking at the images and analyzing what went wrong. I think in comparison to digital, it might be, more dismissible. You might have like 7 frames of the same picture just because you can. And then maybe you can easily dismiss the one that didn't work without analyzing what went wrong there. Is that what you were trying to say?
Yes. And totally. And this is what makes film photography so satisfying, I would say, that you really know what all the effort that went in that frame or in that picture. And I think that this is what I really enjoy from and what makes me keep learning things about color or contrast and ways of or even how images are processed in a digital world, because at the end you are going from the negative is going to be a digital file at some point, most of the times.
Yeah, that drives me insane, to be honest with you. I have anxiety over this issue that I can't control what screen people are looking at when they look at my work. Like, if you print your work, you have you have control, you have total control. If you're going to display your images in a room at, let's say, a gallery, you go to the room, you check it out, you see what kind of light bulbs they have, you see how the angle is hitting the frame, the light angle is hitting your picture. You can choose the paper, you can, double check your prints, make sure they look like you want, take them to the room, make sure they look right, and then, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is how people are going to see it.
Yeah.
But once you upload something online, and I'm not even talking about the compression and the color space and anything like, even if you edit on a reference monitor, which is supposed to be super
perfectly color, really. Yeah.
There's no way two people are, everybody's seeing it the same. My friend the other day was losing his mind, scanning a roll of film, and he couldn't make it look the same on 3 different screens that he had. He's like, my computer looks one way, my monitor looks another way, and my phone looks like completely a third different way. Like,
don't even try.
Just give up, just pick one and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and whatever happens, happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, because there is no way to control that issue.
I mean, I can understand, that with shooting black and white, you cannot remove that factor in.
Yeah.
And also it's scanning color. It's much more
Yeah, I mean,
convoluted.
that's for me. What the reason I mentioned that point is that's one of the things that Danny was talking about. I feel like, and that one is like the one that I decided to not worry about. But up to that point, that's the final step. You know, that's the publishing step. That's like whenever you send the photo out and you have nothing to do about it anymore. But up to that point, I'm sure you know, Danny, it's also full of options, full of possibilities. Your eyes will trick you. One day you look at a color photo, and you think, oh, this is perfect. You come back the second morning, what was I thinking yesterday? How did I see this? Does that happen to you as well?
Yeah, I was talking to a friend the other day, and he told me when I really wanna get a good colors in a picture, I have to edit it in 2 days.
Yeah,
I can do it in a single studio session.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm impressed. It takes her 2 days. It takes me like 2 months. You know, every day I like revisit the photos. I'm like, what am I doing here? I have no idea. Everybody, I think most people who are watching love gear talk. I mean, I know I do. So let me ask you this. What are you working with when it comes to scanning your colored film?
Yeah, right now I'm scanning with a DSLR and full frame one because I really like having the one-to-one ratio when I'm scanning. And I was using an old Epson scanner for a while, but I don't really think flatbed scanners are that good for 135 film. But yeah, this was scanned with a DSLR, and recently I got a new backlight, and that's one of those LED panels you use for video. And yeah, this took me a while to discover this could work, because I was looking for some kind of a light table from the Kaiser one, which is pretty popular, but it's hard to get your hands on it right now. And yes, I went for this light. I'm really happy with it. And my concern was to scan color well with it, because I had another light table some time ago that was using my sister that she draws sometimes, and it's one of those cheap drawing backlights. And yeah, that did the trick for a while, but it's not
the best.
Really,
Did you feel that you were getting uneven light on that one, or was it too dim, or what was the problem?
Yeah, at I think some points, some parts of the board were quite uneven, and also some flickering with the light source. And yeah, that was a big deal, because if I wasn't using a slow speeds one with a DSLR, you could see some lines there.
I see. Yeah.
And that was frustrating.
Yeah, we had some issues with the previous light table that had uneven light. When we were inverting the photos, you would get these yellow stains.
Like blobs.
Blobs of different color. Most of the time it was yellow.
Yeah.
And it turned out these are the dimmer part of the light table. Yeah. And then you wouldn't get, like where it's supposed to be white, it will be yellow. And what are you using to invert? What is your favorite method so far? Have you tried different things?
Yes, I've done the manual one. Well, the manual one is the one I most times I use, because it's cheap and it's the software I already have, which is a capture one, and this can work for some pictures, but when the color is the film or the light of that scene is pretty tough to invert. It's impossible to do it manually. And then I was trying FilmLab app. I think I don't know how it's named.
It is FilmLab.
It's FilmLab, yeah. And I was trying this one with the picture of the contest, and I'm really enjoying it. I tried this one some time ago, but I didn't like the results. Maybe it was due to the light source I was using.
Yeah.
Most probably.
It plays a really big role, way bigger than you expect. I mean, unless you try it and see for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was all right. I thought a lot of my pictures, I developed them wrong, or I exposed them wrong. Maybe something wrong with my chemicals. Maybe something wrong happened in the camera. Maybe, sometimes I didn't. I was so confused. And then when we switched light sources, the problem, I rescanned a lot of negatives, and 61 rolls to be exact. Wasn't it 61 rolls from the 41 rolls to be exact?
Yeah, because the team was pointing out, was it that when the Arctic Circle photos were scanned? It's like, yeah, exactly. 41 rolls need to be rescanned.
Yeah, it was not a happy time. But, it's just because I was redoing it.
And I still want to rescan some of those with the new light table with the sunray box. Yeah. Because I feel like we might get even better results.
I love that box.
Yeah.
That light table. It's so nice. I
have one question. Go ahead. Because we have not asked you, what camera did you use to take the winning photo?
Oh, yeah. I can't believe we missed this one. Yeah, this was a Kiev 4, I think.
Okay.
4 or 4A, the one without a light meter, and a Jupiter 8 lens, which is
So it's a rangefinder, right?
Yeah, it's a rangefinder.
Nice.
Yeah, and this is maybe this was a test roll indeed, because I'm not sure how this camera performs in all speeds, because I had to reveal the shutter at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm really enjoying the camera right now, and yeah, it was really hard to compose with a rangefinder camera. This one.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, when I got the negatives, the lab cut this negative is cut. It's not I don't have the entire frame.
Oh.
I have to. I'll post it in the server later.
Okay.
When I can get a
It's a professional lab. They cut it wrong.
It happens a lot. I've had some rolls that I were cut. A lot of people have. I mean, I'm really sad that is some labs, maybe, I don't know.
They do it automatically. They put it through a machine and it doesn't. I don't know.
I don't know why it happens, but I was talking about this the other day with my friend. I developed his rolls, and he was like, saying thank you for doing this, blah blah. I was like, don't worry about it. It's just I'm doing it as I do my rolls, and I would be really upset if you get one of your frames cut in half just because somebody didn't really care about these photos. I mean, we don't do this for business. We only do it for a couple of friends. So we take extra care of these rolls because, we don't want to be doing like, hey, let me help you out, and then I mess it up.
Yeah.
Because they don't mind paying for the development in a lab, but sometimes if we feel like we can push our chemicals more,
just throw some more rolls.
Put more rolls in each batch. Just like, maybe even though they're not my rolls, but I'm getting the most out of the chemicals. But yeah, it would be really upsetting if I mess up and cut.
Especially a very good frame like that one. Was it easy to then stitch together or put it back together?
No, I had to go with the sliced one.
Oh, all right.
I didn't put it together, so
okay.
Yeah, so my composition from the beginning was a little bit conditioned.
Oh, that's very interesting. That's how the contingency of the situation.
It did.
And I guess this is also because that's why the grain is so apparent, I think.
So you cropped
this is a pretty cropped part of the frame.
Well, regardless, it's a beautiful image, and I hope that it inspires you and encourage you to do more color work, because you have a lot of black and white in your portfolio, but I feel like you have a winner color photo, so I hope that you shoot more color as well.
I'm into it right now. It's just to improve the inverting technique. This is the main concern for me right now.
Did you try Darktable?
I used Darktable, but is any plugin or something that to make it easier, or just curves?
It's I've used it one time, and I was pleasantly surprised. It's
a free software, right?
It's a free software. I think it's by the same people, or it's the same project as GIMP, but it's a standalone. It's a standalone app. I had to download it by itself. It's an open source software, and they have a negative inversion module. Yeah. Kind of like what's the one in Silverfast? I forgot. It's similar name. What is it called? Negative Doctor. That's what it's called. So in Darktable, there's like a module that's called Negadoctor, and that one you use it by, I think you can take like a dropper tool, like the white balance dropper tool, and put it on the shadows, and then take another one, put it on the highlights, and then you can do some mild color correction. And the results that I've seen, they look pretty decent.
Maybe something to look into.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't able to really get what I want from it. It's just because I don't know how to use the rest of the software. But I know people who use it, and they have really good results with it. The thing is about the manual method is sometimes you think, for example, I use Photoshop. I like to use Photoshop to do it manually. Sometimes when I'm not using Negative Lab, and I feel like I get the best colors and the best adjustments that I want to the colors, but then the contrast is a bit tricky to nail down. If I'm not going for something super flat or super extreme, something about the contrast doesn't really work as well as easy as Negative Lab Pro. Negative Lab Pro is so easy to get your contrast right with different options, different module they have, but the colors are more difficult to get than Photoshop. But yeah, I mean, I can go on and on and on about this. I don't want to bore everybody.
But it's the color science behind this is it's amazing for me. I think it's something that when you can understand, I mean, I guess it's something you can learn.
Yeah,
it will make it easier for the future to invert film.
Like an achievement to unlock, so to speak.
Yeah, there must be some kind of formula.
Yeah, but I like what you mentioned at the beginning, that it's an interpretation. I like that you were coming from that state of mind, or like school of thought, that is, it doesn't have to look a specific way. Negative is there's room for choice, there's room for interpretation, there is room for you to do whatever you want. And I mean, if the idea is being creative, people are not really, and when they're shooting digital, they're not really stuck to, I'm shooting Canon, so I'm going to get Canon colors. I'm not going to edit any. Everybody's shooting raw because they want to be able to change how their photos look. So I find it strange that some people would have a purist mind when it comes to color film. Is like, the only choice that I make is which film to buy. And from there, whatever the scanner gives me or whatever the lab gives me, that's what I'm going to do. I find that to be counterintuitive. If a part of the reasoning you're choosing film is the creative aspect of it. I feel like, at least to me, the wild results that I get when I first invert a photo, or in the process of inverting the photo, is what kind of opens the possibilities for me to go in ways that I might have not thought about using a digital raw file. That's at least how I see it.
Interesting. Yeah, but yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Cool. So anything else? I don't know. I don't want to keep Danny too long, because I know you have to prepare for a trip you have coming up. So
yes.
Did we get any questions in the chat? Eva, do you think we forgot to talk about anything?
No, I don't think. It was very great to learn the story behind the photo in itself, and also get to know Danny a little bit more, and your motivations and why you are part of this community that we're together. So it was great to have you here, that you could make the time, and I hope that you continue shooting color, and we keep seeing your photos in the server for sure, and on Instagram.
Yeah, Danny, if you have anything you want to tell us, anything you want to plug, anything you want to say before you go, the floor is yours.
Thank you to choose my picture as a winner. I'm also glad to be here. It was funny. I tried to do my best to explain everything about the picture. it's hard sometimes to talk about art and these things. But happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
No, you're most welcome. Well, maybe one day when you're not in a hurry, we can
have you back.
Have you back a full episode. Maybe if you're working on a bigger project, we can talk about it. I wish you all the best in your photography journey, and we'll see you on Discord.
Yes.
Have a nice trip.
Thanks. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
So we don't only have Danny's photo from the contest, right?
We do have one honorable mention.
Yes, because we thought, it's the first contest. We are not just going to have one photo to talk about.
Yeah, so this was actually the first photo that was... Oops, what did I do? This was... this one was posted before Danny's photo because, not everybody posted at the same time. Where is my mouse cursor? I can't find it. There it is. It was my first pick, to be honest. But then Danny came in with his awesome photo and knocked it out of the park, knocked it down to second place. But still, I felt like this one, because as I mentioned, a lot of the photos were very abstract. This one, I liked it because it kind of seemed to, even though it's not as daring in the approach, it's a pleasant photo, and it also managed to stay on theme with the sales. I liked, like, one of the things, I don't know if I mentioned about Danny's photos that I liked, is that even though it's not very in your face, the triangle theme, he managed to fit so many triangles in the frame.
Yes.
Like the frame is composed of different triangles.
Yeah.
Like you have the one on the top, you have another one here, you have another one here, and you have one here that includes two as well. So I don't know how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 triangles.
Yeah.
Really good work.
It's like, it reminds me of one of these, like, what is it? Like puzzles or like pastimes that is like, how many triangles do you count in this picture? And then it's never really what you count.
Yeah, there's always a few hidden inside other ones. This is why I like this one. I kind of like that there's kind of a triangle and the big, like, two cells together, one here and one here. And again, the number, because I don't know if you don't know that we mentioned it before, we were the judges on this contest, so it was up to us who the winner is. No pressure there. And it was anonymous, so Danny said, thank you for choosing my photo. We didn't know it was your photo, we just liked it. This one was taken by Lind on the server.
Which is a new member in the server.
Is a new member, yeah. Actually, we never spoke. We thought they did really good on this one as well. So remember to check it was in the ticker down below, Danny's Instagram, but there's also a link in the description. You can click it and it takes you to his profile. Go and bug him to shoot more color and post more color. Give him follow. And so before I jumped into all of that rant, you were saying something.
What was I saying?
You were talking about I confused myself. I thought you were going somewhere else when you said we have something else today.
No.
We do have something else today.
We do have something else, for sure. Yeah. Because we also didn't know how long was going to be, having Danny over and everything. So I thought we are not going to just have that in the podcast. So I thought to talk about a photographer. And because her life and her photographic life wasn't that long, so there is not so many photos to see and so much story to talk about. So I thought it would be a nice, shorter look at the life and work of a photographer that, in my opinion, has also been really important, even though she has not been really well known because of the circumstances around her life, her death, and her photographs. But it's one of these stories full with adventure, drama, and mystery, I would say as well. So I think it's time to talk about Gerda Taro, whose name actually wasn't Gerda Taro from birth. Her name was Gerda Pohorille, and she was born in Germany. Gerda Taro is her artistic name, who she came up with during the first years of her professional work as a photographer. And not a lot of people know about Gerda Taro, but I know that a lot of people know about Frank Capra, right? Sorry. No, Frank Cappa. Frank Cappa is the director. Robert Cappa. Actually, Robert Cappa's name is also a pseudonym. It's not a real name. And it came because they wanted to find a name that would sound very American and very high class. So they took a little bit of the film director's name and put Robert and then make this name. So Robert Capa was actually a very well-known war photographer whose name actually was by birth. I don't remember right now, but it was something completely different as well.
So
Friedman. Friedman was his name of birth.
So there's a lot of names to keep track of.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
so we have.
Let's redo it.
Sorry,
just focus on it. It's all right. It's all right.
I get messed up with this.
Okay, so who are we talking about?
We're gonna talk about Gerda Taro, but we are also gonna talk about.
So Gerda Taro, you mentioned that she was born with a different name.
Yes.
And then she changed it to another name.
Yes.
But then she wasn't known as that name either.
Yes.
She and her husband or partner.
All right. Yeah. So let's put out the story. So this woman, she was born in Germany, and then she had to flee Germany because of the Nazi persecution, because they were from a Jewish family, and she moved to Paris when she was 23.
Right.
While she was there, she met this guy called Friedman, and he was already an up-and-coming photographer. He was not very successful. He had not done a lot of work, but he really wanted to do more work. She learned photography through him and fell in love with photography, and she also wanted to do photography. But they came up with the problem that in Paris at the time, it was the early 30s, it wasn't very popular to publish immigrant work, like or photos from immigrant works. But if you were an American photographer, things were very different. The French publications wanted to publish you, especially if you had like a noun name, like a known name. So together they envisioned that when they worked together, they were actually going to publish as Robert Capa. Either of them, it didn't matter. There were photos they were taken, they wanted to publish them, and Friedman posed as the agent of this new photographer coming from America, very successful, called Robert Capa. And that's how they got the first photograph published, actually. So that's the beginning of the story, which is already a little bit like... they were discovered at some point that Robert Capa wasn't really a photographer. It was two people working together and publishing. And from the moment that they were discovered, then Friedman took the name of Robert Capa. So everything that was published thereon, it was his work. And then she took the name of Gerda Taro. And she was publishing as Gerda Taro. And sometimes they published together as Taro and Capa together.
All right. I think now it's much clearer.
Now it's much clearer, right? So we're going to talk about Gerda Taro because she unfortunately had a very short career. She had some assignments while she was in France, but her first big work was to cover the Spanish Civil War, which broke in 1936. And after a year and some months of covering the war, she died of injuries from an accident during one of the big battles of the Spanish Civil War in 1937. So she didn't have a huge professional photographic career. Nevertheless, she, together with Capa, kind of built the foundations of what the new documentary, photojournalism and war reporting was going to be. Because you have to think about when in time was this happening, was the 30s, early 30s. Before then, there was no easy way to photograph wars, in a way. People were going out, they had like big wet plates, cameras, but it's not the same as having a handheld, small 35mm camera that you can just get close, take photos very quickly and kind of like be, moving here and there and not being so seen as taking photos. So this group of photographers in the early 30s were the first photographers to really take a stance and be in the forefront of the battles that were happening. They were on the trenches, literally. Roll after roll after roll, and then working very quickly, developing the photos back in the day, or even the same day, the day after, and sending them back to the different publications around Europe, especially in France, that were interested in publishing this particular work. So that's the backdrop of her story as a photographer. I particularly really like her point of view and the type of photographs that she was taking. Here we are seeing a square format photograph. So at the beginning of her career, it was easy to discern Capa's work from Taro's work because Capa's always worked in 35mm format, whereas Taro started with a 6x6 camera, so square format. So that's how easy way that at the beginning things were able to be discerned, when historians started to look back about who took these photos. But then I think in 37 she started also to shoot 35 millimeter, also because of the easiness and the amount of photos you can take per roll, because she got more and more involved with the war and more involved with the battles and trying to get as much material as she could in every one of these instances, which were different bombings, people fleeing, moving from different parts of Spain, and things like that.
Right.
So this is what we're seeing here. These are from later on, I believe, also.
And I mean, you can tell the medium format ones are kind of sharper, you get like better tonality in the image and stuff like that. You can tell the main purpose of these photos that were shot on 35 was not aesthetics at all. It was merely a recording of what was going on. There was no, I mean, even as you mentioned, I like her photos. I think they're beautiful, as well as being informative and journalistic in nature. But still, the main purpose was to report, not to put them in a gallery.
Exactly. Yeah. So this photo, I particularly really like this photo. That was from one of the first assignments that she worked on when she went to Spain, only like 2 weeks after the war started, and she decided to do a reportage on the militia women that were being trained for fighting during the war, because I assume we had no recollection of what she was thinking or what she thought about her work, but I can imagine she herself was a quite politically positioned person. That's also one of the reasons why she had to like move and flee away from different places, and she felt personally very attracted to the cause and what was happening in Spain with the war, because the Spanish Civil War was one of these big first instances of fascism trying to take over democracy, because we were in a republic that was democratically chosen, and then we had this military people that raced over and started the war, and they wanted to take over the control of the country. So she saw a lot of those feelings that she had and those tendencies, political tendencies in what was happening in Spain. So she felt really close to the suffering and to the struggle of its people. So I think I can see in her photography that she wasn't just reporting, but she was really seeing the souls and the pain of what was happening, and the struggle and the battle, internal battle and external battle.
That is also an essential part of reporting. That's she was not just reporting on the surface.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody who goes in that deep, as you mentioned, in the trenches, obviously has a deep care about the issue and about the struggle, and they're not just doing it. I mean, there are easier ways to make a living. There are more convenient ways to make a living. So what I said wasn't merely that they were just working as journalists and they didn't care about the photos, and that's why they chose 35, because they can just keep shooting. Well, that is why they chose 35, but because they were also putting themselves in danger, because they wanted to report on what's going on, and they thought it was maybe, I don't know. But I think you covered.
Yeah, it's a cause that is worth the risk and the efforts that they were putting, basically. The fact is that the photos of Gerda Taro and Robert Capa were very important in understanding the war in Spain, because they did the most amount of work on putting out there how it was in the forefront, how people were fighting. And even I read that some of the details of how the different fronts were strategizing the war was actually studied and known through the photographs that these people took. So it's an incredible important work back in the days of these people being there and actually taking the photos and developing them quickly and sending them out so people can know around the world what's happening.
What's going on.
Right? So...
And I mean, as I said earlier, when I mentioned that even though the goal wasn't to make them look good, they are still good photos. I think you mentioned that you really like the style, and I agree. Like, for example, this photo that we're looking at and a bunch of others that we scrolled through, I mean, they can look like anything to any different person, but from what we've been looking at over the past 33 weeks,
Yes.
We've seen some similar work that was celebrated. We can talk about rhythm in this photo if we're trying to analyze it.
More aesthetically.
And stuff like that. We can analyze all of these photos aesthetically and find something. Again, I think we talked about this. I mentioned this in the episode we did with Karin, is that you follow your instinct and then you appreciate what happened.
Right, like what is the expression of your...
Yeah, and there's a lot of artists that don't necessarily have the classical training, but the beauty comes to their work, whether it being photography, painting or music. It just comes instinctively because it's self-expression.
Yeah.
And you don't need to really know why you're choosing. I would argue that sometimes if you're instinctually a good artist, maybe it's not bad that you never learned the classical methods.
Yeah. So you don't get constricted, or you don't
doubt
go away
yourself
from the
you don't second guess yourself. So you see something, it maybe so let's talk about the rule of thirds. You instinctually know the rule of third looks good, but you also have instinctually relations to other types of framings, right? Just because maybe that's your influence. You looked at paintings as you grow up, you watched movies, and you know what looks good without even knowing really why.
Yeah.
So you take some photos that follow the rule of thirds, but you take some photos that follow different compositional techniques, right? And then one day you learn that the rule of thirds is
the worst thing ever.
No, the
golden rule?
Yeah, the holy grail of framing, because a lot of people seem to think so. And as a beginner or as somebody who's doubting themselves, maybe I should learn more, you start avoiding other more interesting framings to opt for the rule of thirds because that you think that's what you should be doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. This photo that we're seeing right now is from a series that I would argue is the thing that made her more famous. This was during the bombings in Valencia, and she did an extensive reportage not only during the bombings but also after. These are all the family members of all the people that died during the bombings that are in front of the morgue, waiting for the people that died to be registered and then released to be able to be buried. And after taking these photos outside, she went inside the morgue and she took photos of all the bodies of the people that actually died during that night. And I don't think there's any photos there because they are very graphic, and I think it's not, for all publics, but that they were really important to actually show look
horror.
What happened. It was one night in one city. This is the aftermath. And her name was published in the main publications in France with this particular work from the Valencia bombings. So that was kind of like a key moment of her career, short-lived career.
Yeah, I mean, we can't stress how important it is, and sometimes it's hard, but we've been through this when we talk to Regis. It can be more important.
Can you go to the other ICP up there, the second tab?
This one?
No, the second tab.
This one.
Did we already look through most of them? Because this one, so now we can segue to this page is the International Center for Photography. It was started by the son of Robert Capa. And the thing with Gerda Taro's work is that for many, many, many years, nobody really knew of her work, and there was no physical archives of her work because the majority of her work actually got lost in the world from 1939 up to 2007, which is a lot of years. Robert Capa also died on combat or like covering a war in 1956, I believe. So with Gerda passing on 1937 and then Capa, which was her closest person, passing in 1956, the talk about her work and her memory kind of like got dissolved faded away. Nobody really talked. So Capa on 1939 had a series of rolls, 4,500 rolls to be precise, shot between 1936 and 1939 in the Spanish Civil War, put in boxes that he had to leave behind, all right, in France. And he actually told someone to take those boxes somewhere so they could actually be taken care of. But in the mean problem of like, where are we taking this? Is this person going to do it? they ended up with an ambassador of Mexico somewhere, and then they ended up in Mexico for many, many, many years. No one really know what they were. They only knew that they were kind of important. Somehow these historical pieces should be conserved because they were really, really well taken care of, but they had not seen the light of day. Many of the photos in those 4,500 rolls were published in the moment when the photos were taken, but then they were archived and they were never really seen before. So there was no digital copies of those photos. A lot of them were really not known, and we didn't have a physical record of Gerda's work. So in 2007, after looking for these boxes for a really long time, they were able to get back to the original. I mean, it was the legacy of Kappa in a way, you know, with the Center of Photography. So they were returned to them in 2007. And that's how we were able to get a lot of the original work from Taro. And what previously had been assigned to Kappa actually was known that it wasn't Kappa who took it, it was Taro as well. So all these photographers' lives and careers are very intertwined, very difficult to really discern, but we were finally able to really get her work and give the right record.
I think we're coming back.
Are we?
Yes,
we're back.
Sorry for the interruption. We made it back.
All right, so we were talking about that collection of photographs, those 4,000 rolls, belong to what is known as the Mexican suitcase, which is one of the biggest kind of mysteries of photography. What happened? They got lost and then they were found again. And the International Center for Photography did a really, really good work on digitalizing everything, looking through all the rolls and trying to make sense of all the photographs. How do they fall in history and how do they fall in the story of the work of this photographer. I have to say that the photos in that suitcase were not only Kappa and Taro's, but it also includes photos from a photographer called Seymour. David Chim Seymour. So it's those three photographers. They worked together during those years of the Civil War. So their work is put together in this collection. I read that there is an amazing book of 2 volumes that is dedicated to this project and to this instance, this happening in particular. They show you and they talk to you about the archives, and they also talk to you about how they fall into the history, what things were actually able to be known and understood about the war and about the way that new photographers were shooting these kind of world events, because it was something very new. Through these photographs, there is a lot of raw scannings and raw representations of these photos, and you can see how the photos were actually edited for publications, because they also put a lot of the covers and a lot of the reportage that were actually published in these magazines back in the 30s. So one can see how all that work was taken, and then it was actually chosen for publication.
I mean, this one looks like from a movie.
Yeah, right. I believe that probably is from the marchings, like from the fleeting of people from some areas to another areas. This is from the same that we saw before in the bombings in Valencia.
These are really good. So you were saying that these rolls were hardened.
These rolls were impossible to scan. There were a series of them were already flattened and cut, but the majority, as you saw in the photo, they were completely rolled. They are actually nitrate-based film rolls, which are slightly more sensitive than other type of film bases. So the International Center of Photography decided not to treat them with absolutely anything. They engineer and devise contraption that would actually be able to keep the film as flat as possible, and then they did the DSLR method to actually digitalize this, which was not the common practice for digitalization of negatives. They normally use a Coolscan 9000, and they did that for the flat negatives, but these ones were actually done with a DSLR.
Interesting. They're one of the first instances of DSLR scanning.
For a professional work and a archive of a collection.
Yeah, so this is an actual picture of the Mexican...
One of the boxes, there were 3 boxes, I believe.
All right. So cool.
And there you can see the map of like it says actually where the photos were taken, who took the role or the photos as well. So there's some
look
sort
at
of
that.
guidance.
This is a good way to keep your film. You can use an old shoebox and then, make a grid.
Yeah.
If you don't wanna use a, what do you call it?
Binder.
Binder.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Very interesting. This is so cool. Right. So.
And then in the other page, you didn't close it. I think I don't know.
I think
the
I
ICP,
closed it.
Yeah.
Wait, let me open it again.
Then it's just that we can take. It's a more extensive look. It's the first one there, at what is already known to be Gerda Taro work throughout. These ones with the horses are really, really nice.
Yeah, we looked at this one earlier.
You can see even like contact sheets as well, so you can see how she used
this one, the camera that she was using had light leaks. I think you were reading, but I opened this one and it has some light leaks at the end of the roll. I'm guessing this is the end. Yeah, because this part is kind of like messed up from being caught by the spool in the camera.
Yeah, the story, I mean, is quite sad because, sad in a way, she basically died doing what she thought it was worth her life and her time for. What I read is that she was supposed to go back to France the next day. Kappa wasn't actually with her for that trip. He actually was very, very, very affected by her death and kind of thought that it was his fault because he was the one that brought her to photography. He was the one that kept saying, if your photo is not good enough, that means you're not close enough. That's one of the things that he's known for saying. He used to get very, very, very close in his work photography as well. And she was alone. She was shooting. And she decided not to leave the trenches until she used the last roll that she had left because she knew she was going to go back to France. And she wanted to shoot it all. So she stayed late. She shot everything. And then she decided to hitch a ride from a tank that was taking some wounded people back to the main camp, and while that was happening she got run over by another tank, and apparently it was completely an accident. It wasn't really crossfire, or there was a lot of somewhat controversy that they were saying that this wasn't a targeted assassination because they wanted to take over all of the leftist people that were providing with material that would provide to the cause of the anti-war. But there were numerous instances of people saying no, it was an accident, this was not supposed to happen. And it's an interesting thing that a few years back, and I actually saw this on Twitter, a few years back there was someone that came up with a photo of a woman, very young woman, being treated by a doctor, photo in black and white. She has a lot of blood in her face coming out of her nose. And that photo was uploaded by the son of the guy that was a doctor at the hospital that she died. So they don't know for sure 100% if it's her, but the idea is that photo is actually her like few hours before she died because someone took a photo of her being in the hospital, being treated by the doctor. So that's the last photo of Gerda that it's known to exist. Wow. And what I read also is that the rolls that she shot that specific day, the day that she passed, they were never found or recovered. So they don't really know where they are. They don't know if anybody took them from the hospital, if they just threw them away, or if they even got developed or anything. So we don't really know what happened there.
Maybe the camera was destroyed in the accident.
Something like that. Not sure.
Or maybe it was an accident, but then when they found out that she was a photographer, they destroyed
They took the things or something like that. I mean, I probably was very hectic in that moment. And she got a very, very, very popular, how you say, when someone passed away, mourning back in France. So a lot of people went to the streets, a lot of people went to pay her respects, and a lot of artists contributed to building up in the cemetery the headstone for her place, and there were some poets that wrote some poems and stuff because she became an icon of the anti-fascist war and how, young women that they really go out there to do the work that they want to do, they find important, they are actually victims of what's happening around. So her persona and her work was like very important. A lot of people knew that it was something to talk about. And then with Robert Capa passing, it kind of diluted, and it was never really mentioned or being part of the history of photography until very recently, when everything was rediscovered and looked into again.
When the Mexican suitcase resurfaced.
Yeah, exactly.
How come nobody made a movie about this?
No, there are actually movies. So this is actually an interesting that you mention it, because I swear to you that I have dreamt about it, or I have seen this story of Friedman being with her being Robert Capa, Robert Capa, both of them.
Yeah.
Somehow, so I think that they come up as side characters in some Spanish movies about the war.
Mm-hmm.
So because they were important, they were kind of like important characters there. What I know is that there's been someone wrote a novel, and that novel might be actually put into a movie later on.
So here I'm looking at a list of Spanish
Civil War films. There is nothing, but there is.
Did you look?
I did look, because I put the Robert Capa movie or Robert Capa Gerda Taro movie, and there is nothing. There is a novel that is called Waiting for Robert Capa, which is about her life, and I think that movie might actually be put into a film production at some point. That novel might be put into a. It's called
I'm trying to find anything in this page that might lead us to it. No.
I looked into it, and I found something weird, which is a movie that is on the making that is gonna be Tom Hiddleston, but there's no information about it. So it would be really cool.
When is it? Let's see. Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston, but that was 2013, so it must be one of these drop ideas or something. Tom Hiddleston to play famous war photographer Robert Capa in biopic. I mean, it would be very interesting, because we are not going into the life and work of Robert Capa here, but he did extensive work. Very, very amazing work.
How is Capa spelled? With a K or with a C?
No, with a C-A-P-A.
Yeah. Did it ever come out?
I don't think so.
Take all my cookies.
He went in to do more Loki.
Yeah. I mean, I like Loki, but I would have loved to see this film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they scratched all of this. Reps for have confirmed that she will not be starring in Kappa. Gemma Arterton.
There is a documentary about the Mexican suitcase.
Okay.
So that's available. It's from 2011, and apparently it's really good if you're studying history of photography or like photography, anything.
Yeah,
and
there is
this
a movie.
one, but it's still in production. This one, and this one is not the Tom Hiddleston one.
All right.
So this is another one.
I see.
But we might be seeing coming up some stories about it. It's definitely a story worth putting in a movie.
Yeah, here it says the story of the relationship of two photographers in the Spanish Civil War, the Hungarian André Friedman, so that one you talked about, and the German Gerda Taro,
yeah.
And how they both created the bogus American signature Robert Capa. Oh, so André Friedman.
It's him.
So the third one is not in here.
No, it's not.
So there is a movie about this.
But it's in production. It's in development.
Where do you see that?
There in the you see what it says? Add to watch list up.
No.
On the right side.
I'm getting dizzy.
Right
here,
side,
yeah.
There says in development up there. Up,
in development.
So I don't know. It doesn't say who is going to be playing it, right?
It doesn't say anything, does
it?
The storyline.
Everyone that knew them and talked about them says that they were kind of very nice couple, because she became a really good photographer by learning from him, but he was not so professional and had some shortcomings, and that's why he didn't really make it anywhere before they were together. And she helped him with that, and then kind of doing this together, they both became to be the best they could, so to speak. Although he proposed to her and they never married, she didn't want to be married. She said that she didn't want to be different than him, she want to be like him, and that's why she didn't want to marry him. So they actually never married.
These
But
two,
he would call her his wife everywhere.
yeah, they're referred to as husband and wife as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like Adrian Brody and Natalie Portman, according to this website,
What? Really?
were
No,
supposed
that's
by
a
this
different one.
Kappa movie.
That's not the other one. Is called Close Enough.
Oh, that's true. Robert Capa was one of the most famous photographers. Capa biopic starring Adrian Brody will tell the story of his relationship with the fellow photographer Gerda Taro, Natalie Portman, during
Wow.
the Spanish War. And this was posted in August 24, 2021. So, what? Is it today? Is the day 24th? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is this telling me the date today?
Yeah.
Or the date of the...
That's the date that it was published, I think.
Look what's going on here. What is happening today? Coincidences.
Yeah, this one. It's the same movie. It has two titles,
Yeah.
apparently.
I mean, it would be cool. Release date to be announced. Hopefully it comes out.
I would watch it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're... I don't know if we can sign a petition somewhere for them to... Because I think there should be more movies about photography. We did watch that one. What was it called? Kodachrome?
Kodachrome.
How did you feel about that movie?
It was entertaining.
It was entertaining.
It wasn't so much about photography.
It was more about the personal relationships.
Yeah, but it was entertaining,
It was
and
fun.
it was
What's the name
pretty.
of the lead actor? I forget his name. The guy from Westworld.
I don't remember. No.
Yeah. Let me tell you what his name is. Westworld. No spoilers. Ed Harris.
Ed Harris. Yeah.
He was playing. I think it's loosely based. It's not loosely based on anyone really, because he's the one who shot the last role of Kodachrome.
Yeah.
But we know that was McCurry.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's a resemblance between Ed Harris' character and McCurry. I don't know so much about McCurry's
I don't
life.
think it's based on the real story of having this last role of Kodachrome, but it's not based on the real story of how it went. Because actually McCurry, that could be actually a movie as well. He did document extensively that last role, how he shot it, and there's a lot of information out there.
Cool. Well,
you can
we
see
know
the
what we're gonna
photos,
watch
and it's
tonight.
like... there is another movie about a photographer that my parents just told me that we should kind of watch because... and it's actually Johnny Depp.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, it's called Minamata, and it's the story of war photographer Eugene Smith that he documents in Japan the devastating effects of the mercury poisoning back in the 70s, I believe. Yeah.
Interesting.
It doesn't look like Johnny Depp, by the way.
It kind of does, if you know who it is.
Yeah. He can morph. Let's just say that.
So this one came out pretty recently.
It was last year, I believe.
Yeah, 2020.
Mm.
Actually, 2021, initial release.
Oh, okay.
February
There
4th, 2021. Cool. So here's another thing you can watch if you're interested. And I know Sham is gonna...
kill us.
Yeah, because we still didn't watch Salt of the Earth about... Salgado. Sebastião. Christy is saying cheap drama. I think he's referring to Kodachrome.
Of course.
I mean, yeah.
Or maybe about Minamata. I haven't seen it, so.
Oh, yeah. What are you referring to, Chris? So we know if
we should watch it or
if
not.
we should watch it or not. Be interesting. Here's a movie review from Christy. Who's a big movie head, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to old movies.
Yeah. He has a lot of videos about movies, right?
Yeah, check out Christy's channel if you're into.
Yeah, Kodachrome. Yeah. We agree. I mean, it was a drama.
Yeah, it was.
It is a nap movie, as I call it.
A what?
A nap movie, siesta movie. You put it when you're gonna have a siesta, when you're like lying down in the sofa, on the sofa, and you kind of like have it there. You're listening to it, but
yeah, I remember some parts of it were irritating to me. But I like Ed Harris, so I kind of stuck with it, and it was cool to see a movie like that is
talking about the film. Yeah.
Oh. But yeah, I agree. It's nothing to be fascinated by.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Hopefully, this Kappa movie comes to life because these two were definitely the real deal, and I hope they do them like justice with the movie. And I mean, they got big name actors.
I
But
don't know how I feel about Natalie Portman playing Taro, but
I mean, yeah, I don't know either. I'm not gonna say anything necessarily. I'll have my
we'll
fingers
see
crossed
how it
under
is.
under the desk, but hopefully the script is good again. At least and they make it about what it really was about, rather than
making it a drama or a romance or something like that. I really hope, because I don't get the feeling that that's how the relationship was, even though they really admire each other and they love each other. It was more about, being there, doing something that not a lot of people had done before, and putting their lives at risk in the end.
Right.
So
I think that we should wrap up for today. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was a short story to go through, and I'm happy we were able to talk about her, and it's very important to my country's history.
Yes, it seems like there's a lot more that you can explore. If this story got your intrigue, there's a bunch of links that you left in the description, right?
Yeah.
And there's also Ted Forbes made a video also about the topic,
the art of photography, about the Mexican suitcase.
So yeah, and there's a movie coming up, so it's a deep rabbit hole.
And if you really are into it, then get the book published about the Mexican suitcase, because for what I read, it's really well made and it has so much information. Everything around it. It's not just a photo book. It's a history book of sorts. So
I have a feeling you'll be getting it soon.
I don't know. It's very expensive. So and it's very big too. And we already have one monster book over there, which I would like to talk about one day. It's a photography book as well.
We can set it up for next week.
It's so big. Yeah,
we'll
maybe.
Have it like stationed there. Stick to flip the pages. But I guess that's it for today. Again, thank you for Dani for joining us. It was really fun talking to you, and it was really fun going down this mystery of Robert Capa.
I always say Frank Capa. I should stop.
I
put Frank Capa together.
I pause every time not to say Frank. And the Mexican suitcase, really, really beautiful images. Really, heartfelt, not heartfelt, but like touching human story about human will and what some journalists go through and sometimes sacrifice their life to let you know what's happening.
Actually, the three of them from the Mexican suitcase both died doing their work in a war setting.
Yep.
So
yeah, but other than that, we thank you for joining us and we hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next week.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Bye.